Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I have another silly ranking video that was bound to happen one of these days. I've ranked the maps, survivors, and enemies, so it's about time we rank the items. I decided that ranking every item in a single video would make for a really long and repetitive video, so instead I'm going to segment it into each rarity. Today we'll be going over the commons, which have some of my favorite items. A quick reminder before we get started, these will be ranked mostly out of personal preference from my 800 hours-ish of playtime. I am by no means a professional, and this video is meant more to be fun over educational. Anyways, without further ado, enjoy the video. In the 29th spot, and the worst white item, in my opinion, is the roll of pennies. The only thing I can praise this item for is being pretty creative in what it does, however, its biggest problem is the prerequisite needed to activate it. Taking damage in this game can be extraordinarily risky, so trying to actually use the roll of pennies without putting myself in too much danger can be really tricky, and not worth the payoff. This item can be alright early game, but not nearly as much as the rest of the items are. Number 28 is the bison steak. Picture this, you're on Siren's Call, fighting the alloy warship unit, and you've gotten it to low health, but it suddenly does its large circle attack. Unfortunately, you can't get away in time and you get one shot by the explosion after taking a little bit of damage from the probes. These are the moments in which you want an opal or a bunch of armor plates. 25 extra health really isn't going to help you when you need it to, and because it's flat HP, it takes a ton of stacking of this item to actually get any value out of it. Number 27 is the Stunner Grenade. I want to like this item a lot, but the thing that really holds it back is that it cannot stun bosses, which are kind of the enemies you want to stun the most. Yeah, this item can help save yourself from a few attacks, but because it's a chance-based item and it doesn't really do any damage, 9 times out of 10 it is more valuable to just kill the enemy faster than it can kill you, rather than to try to stun it out of an attack. Our 26th spot is the Personal Shield Generator. The PSG is my mortal enemy. You may be confused as to why I have been nicer to the previous 3 items, however I will give the PSG points for helping out Transcendence builds. The reason this sucks so much is that when you have it, it effectively gives you a second health bar, and while this sounds nice at first, what it means is that when you get damaged, you become susceptible to being one-shot. If you were instead to have a lot of normal health, you could heal this quickly. But because there are shields and you can't heal shields, you have to be in this dangerous state for 7 whole seconds before it automatically regenerates. This just sucks all over, so let's move on before this becomes half of the video. Number 25 is the Focus Crystal. This item is another creative and cute one, but other than helping melee characters and helping stack damage more with other base damage boosting items, it is incredibly niche. It's a nice item to have, but because the characters I usually play are ranged, this is going into the scrapper. Number 24 is the Rusted Key. This item is alright, but it is kind of silly, as I would prefer to just get a green item. It's higher because when the Survivors of the Void DLC was released, there was a glitch where having only one of the Rusted Key would give you a guaranteed legendary item. For this reason, my friend group and I have started referring to it as the Busted Key, and I keep forgetting that that's not its actual name, despite it being patched back to its former mediocrity. 23 is the War Banner. I don't think many people will argue with me on this one. While having an additional 30% attack and movement speed is nice, it's held back by its prerequisite of having to be in its range. I'm aware that if you stack enough of it, it will cover the entire map, but let's be honest, it's just better to carry a few syringes and goat hooves. In number 22, we have the Bundle of Fireworks. This item is just silly, and while it does pump out some serious damage, it's again held back by the prerequisite of having to interact with something, and unless there is a barrel, you don't get any value out of this during the teleporter event, and you also don't get any value out of it during the Mithrix and Voidling boss fight. It gets number 22 due to its value in the early game of being able to get you some free money when you need it most. Number 21 is the armor-piercing rounds, which are kinda cool. The enemy that you will actually need the increased damage for are usually bosses, so it makes sense to take a few of these to stack with your other items. Other than that though, this item is very boring, and I would prefer to have different damaging items to spice up the run over this. Our 20th spot is an interesting dividing point where all the previous items I would probably scrap without question, but all of the items moving forward are items I would likely keep, and only scrap if I felt I didn't need them. In this spot is the Topaz Brooch, which is an interesting item that can be super helpful in large quantities. It acts like a nice reward for killing an enemy, but unfortunately I do have to put it lower since other defensive items are just much more useful. Number 19 is the Monster Tooth. This item is fun to play around with, but that's kinda it. Since you have to go retrieve the little orb that drops from the enemies when you kill them to actually get the healing, it becomes a bit monotonous and tough to use. Other than that though, it's still a fun item to play around with and really comes in clutch when it does. It's also cute to watch the orbs fall from the sky when you get a kill and a bunch of enemies at the same time. In our 18th spot is the medkit, which is just a nice item to have overall. It doesn't score too high, however, because it only kicks in after not taking damage for a bit, and it's really more useful to have constant healing to refill your health bar as fast as possible. One thing that is fun about this item is how it works in the void fields with void fog. If you need to heal really quickly, you can just dip into the fog, take like 1 damage, and then safely get to healing really quickly. Because of this, it is also very helpful in the simulacrum. 17th goes to the crowbar. I really like where this item is coming from, and I find it very unique, and I absolutely love how it interacts with certain one-shots in the game. Unfortunately, this only works well with some characters, and with some survivors like Commando, this item is practically useless. I don't have much else to say about this item, so I'm just going to move on to number 16. Number 16 is the backup magazine. This item suffers from the same problem as the crowbar, where on characters like Loader and Huntress it's super useful, but on characters like Captain and Railgunner it is glorified white scrap. Because it is so nice on characters it's useful on, I find myself carrying at least 1 to 3 of them, just so the cooldowns don't hold me back. Next item is number 15, and it's the oddly shaped opal. This item would be the absolute best item, except for one glaring reason. There is no reason to stack any more than 5 of these, as most hits you'll be taking won't affect you at all with 500 armor. Also, because of how it works, it is both mandatory to have at least 1 of these if you want to keep yourself alive, but is also very annoying, as any amount of damage, even the smallest tick, will remove its protection until you get out of combat. Again, it's fine, but boring. Number 14 is the armor plate. This item is another that kinda sucks because it's mandatory to have at least a few. 5 less damage per hit doesn't sound like that much, but when you get lasered by a stone titan, you realize how valuable that is. Other than that though, this item is incredibly boring to me, and that is why it does not breach the top 10. Unlucky number 13 goes to the power elixir. This item is one of the only items that earned its place on the list. It has saved me too many times to count, and because of this I just couldn't put it any lower. It may be a very passive item that doesn't do anything, but once it does, oh boy does it help you a ton. Also, bonus points for preventing your delicate watches from being broken. 12th place is for the bungus. This item also kind of earned its place, as you'd think the prerequisite of standing still would be super awful, but instead it makes the item super fun to play around, as you have to pick when you move and when you have to find a safe place to heal. Also, I love engineer builds that just have you standing still with triple the bungus healing, and you just stay immortal forever. Also, Bungus. It's a funny name. Number 11 is the Sticky Nade. I like this item so much whenever I see it in the early game. The only reason it doesn't breach into the top 10 is once you get like 20 of them, they don't stack any further, as the only thing that stacks is the chance for it to proc. Also holding it back a bit is this item is one of the only items that makes an annoying noise, and the beep 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 beep, it just really bothers me sometimes. The start of the top 10 is brought to you by the energy drink. Super simple item, but by God does it help you when you need it. Especially in the late game when you need to be able to get out of dodge quickly, this item certainly helps you do that. Moving swiftly onto 9th place, however, is the goat hoof. It does basically the same thing as the energy drink, however, it makes all of your movement faster, not only your sprinting speed. I honestly feel weird placing the goat hoof and the energy drink in separate places, as if you have one, you should always strive to get the other. 8th goes to Lensmaker's glasses, which are just super cool. Crits are always satisfying to get, so having them guaranteed is very useful. Also, because they are not affected by proc chance, you only need 10 of them on any character to get full value out of it. It's just a nice item overall. Number 7 is the Delicate Watch. This item is so incredibly valuable and simply increases all of your damage by 20%, which is something every character needs. The reason this item isn't any higher up is because oh my god is it so boring, and also it is so miserable to lose all of them, and it sort of solidifies your fate and just sort of delays it instead of just dying. This item needs other items to work well, and that kinda sucks, but I guess you could also say that all the other items need this one to reach their full potential. In our number 6 spot, we have the Mocha. This item is the early game's best friend. A little bit of movement and attack speed is sometimes all you need to complete the first few teleporter fights, and that is just what this item gives you. There's not much to say about this one. It is just helpful all over, and is always appreciated no matter when you find it in your run. Top 5 time, baby, and we enter it with the Tri-Tip Dagger. This item is carried by just how satisfying it is to use. It gives me nothing but joy to watch enemies' health bars slowly tick down while they can't do anything about it. You only need like 20 of these to have it proc on every hit, and it's so much fun no matter when you have to use it. Number 4 is the Soldier Syringe. This item is just funny. I find it extremely comical to watch Commando fire at inhuman speeds and to see Railgunner flying because her gun is firing too fast. This item also has one very important aspect of helping you proc more things in general, which, no matter which way you put it, is always helpful. Third place is given to Tougher Times. All these healing and armor items are great and all, but none of them can compare to just completely blocking the damage. With just 10 of these, you can get a very helpful 60% block chance on all damage, and there's no arguing with that. It is so satisfying to just tank an entire stone golem laser or brush off a wandering vagrant explosion like it's nothing, so I'm putting it in third place. Silver medal goes to Gasoline. This item is so insanely useful early game. Gasoline is super easy to play around, just shoot a beetle near a boss and you get full value, and it stacks super well too, both doing more damage and having a larger AoE. Gasoline has saved runs more times than I can count, purely due to its insane damage output and crowd control. And the gold medal, first place and our number 1, is of course the Cautious Slug. This item has saved more runs than Dio's. Not just mine, everybody else's as well. This item has gotten more people to finish Eclipse 8 than any other, and this item is just plain and simply overpowered. Even after Eclipse 5, when your healing is halved, you only need like 6 to 7 of these to be able to fully recover from literally any damage fairly quickly. Paired with a Rejuve rack and some armor, it truly shines by being quite possibly the best healing item in the game, regardless of rarity. Did you disagree with my rankings? Did you agree? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, consider subscribing as it helps me out a ton. Thank you to our members Q3W3E3, Valent0725, A Brief Gamer, Shadow Cheese, Supreme Firo, Soap, Eggy, Nia, and the_Radiance for supporting the channel like that. If you'd like to support the channel like they did, you absolutely can, but if you don't want to support me with your money, that's also fine. You can also just like, subscribe, join the Discord, or check me out on Twitch. Other than that, I will see you later. Bye-bye.